Alright guys, so for those who don't know, I'm here with Andrew Coleman, who's the owner and creator of Strong Liftwear, which is my clothing sponsor. So a lot of you have been asking lately of what it takes to get sponsored and how do I get sponsored in the fitness industry. So I thought the best way to address this is to get sponsorship in the perspective of a company like Strong Liftwear, and then also in the eyes of an athlete like myself who's up and coming. So I'll ask him a few questions today and he can give you a bit of a rundown of what he's looking for in an athlete and the best way for you guys to approach this. So what do you look for in an athlete that you're looking to sponsor?
When looking for athletes to sponsor, I tend to look at a range of different criteria that kind of make up the whole package. So obviously, first and foremost, I think for all companies will be the ability for someone to be able to influence an audience. So I guess you can bring it down to likes, shares, all-encompassing engagement. So how well do you engage with your audience and what level of influence do you really have over that audience for them to be able to make a future purchase with my company, for example. So that's obviously the most important thing because that's why athletes get sponsored. That's typically the crux of it, to be able to generate sales for a company. While it is important, it's not an all-deciding factor. There are other things that come into play. Obviously, within the fitness industry and within the niche of bodybuilding, an athlete's figure is very important. Has to be somewhat aspirational. And if they don't have the figure, they have to have other factors that make them stand out from the crowd. A lot of kids seem to think being lean is the most important thing. It's a factor, but there's no expectation from my perspective for an athlete to be lean 365 days of the year.
Yeah.
I don't think it's realistic. I think it's quite improbable and not really healthy to be 5% for an entire year. So you can kind of take that out of it, but you do have to maintain good condition, and it does have to be a focus point for you. So exposure, your physique. Next is personality. I look for people who can really fit into what I call a team, almost to the level of a family environment where everyone gets on really well. Everyone seems to click and vibe really well when they're in a group scenario. There's never any animosity or bickering or talking behind backs. That kind of thing can really damage a brand if athletes are talking behind each other's back and being negative. I want to generate a really positive environment because that impacts my customers as well. They see that and they want to be part of that kind of that family.
That team, yeah.
That team, exactly. So personality is important on that, and something that extends from that is to be unique. So if you jump on Instagram today, you'll probably see thousands and thousands of athletes, if you will, or people who are aspiring to be athletes. But there are a lot of copies of copies, if you know what I mean. So it takes, I guess we'll call it X factor. It takes something to be able to stand out, and you have to separate yourself from the group. Whether that's by your physique, your personality, what you do on a daily basis, how you're driven, how you're motivated, how you share your content, how unique your content is. The list goes on. There are so many ways in which you can be unique, but you've just got to find your unique selling point and focus on that to develop yourself. So I guess that's a few of the things that I tend to look at when I'm looking for athletes. My athletes are pretty different. I look for the same things I do in guys as I do girls. There's no real difference there. Again, it's that ability to influence, that unique personality, perspective. And that kind of sums it up. So while there is a set criteria, there's nothing that someone could necessarily really do beyond be themselves and work towards making themselves better.
And how important would you say their image on social media is for a brand to sponsor them?
Image is everything when it comes to sponsorship. That's what we're buying as a sponsor. That's what we're purchasing. We're purchasing someone's image because that's reflected in their ability to sell. So for me, you really need to have a defined image. And it's the same as what I look for in business attributes. You need to have a really clear image. You need to be very driven. You need to be very motivated. You need to want to succeed because it's those things that are going to drive your profile further and your personality further.
Yep.
And it's those things that are going to get you further, which in turn will reciprocate and see the benefits come back to the business.
Yeah.
I guess it's also important to say I've never seen it as a selfish commitment, if you know what I mean, in terms of just taking from an athlete and never giving back. Obviously, there are things involved in terms of salaries and commissions, but also myself and I guess Strong Liftwear take a very firm stance on promoting the athletes as much as we can for who they are.
Yep.
Trying to increase their exposure as much as they increase ours. So kind of keep it a two-way street. And that's fucking it, mate.
And so that's just fucking it, mate. So what advice would you give, someone out there who doesn't have a significant following, maybe he's just on Instagram, has a couple hundred followers, and wants to start putting themselves out there to attract a brand?
What I've personally been focusing on in terms of people and their ability, again, I'm going to go back to influence, is not just having one platform of media to be able to influence from. I'm seeing video content as being the most powerful influencer at the moment. So I'm really encouraging even the athletes I've got on board at the moment to focus on Snapchat, because it gives your customers, the people who follow you, a real idea of your lifestyle and what you do on a daily basis.
Yep.
It's really insightful. It's like you're almost there with them.
Yep.
So I see that as a really powerful tool in terms of influence. You can build up a fantastic rapport, which is something that's extremely hard to do over social media.
Yeah.
And then the second one is YouTube. I've also been focusing on, just because of, again, it's that level of engagement that you can get with your audience. You can't really get that from a picture. Pictures can be aspirational. They can draw out some level of emotion, saying, wow, that's fantastic, it looks amazing, etc. But you don't get any further level of connection with someone beyond that if you look at pictures. So I've been pushing for video. So if you're new and up and coming and you want to get noticed, I think video is the way to go. Obviously focus on your physique, because that can be a unique point that people are attracted to.
Yep.
I.e. you get down to 6% and someone says, oh my God, that's fantastic, I'd love to know how they get there. They then watch your videos and you start to get that engagement. Hopefully word of mouth comes that you've got a good personality as well. And you can start generating traffic that way.
So you'd say start straight away on all platforms, as many as you can. Focus on videos, don't just put up pictures. But would you emphasise the fact that you just need to get started straight as soon as you can, as soon as possible? I think with any, and we'll look at this as a business idea, because ultimately it will be. If you've got a very large following, you profit from it. So it's an avenue of business. I think for any business idea starting, the best thing you can do is start. Yeah.
Reverting back to when I started Strong Liftwear, the thing that generated the most momentum for me was starting and pushing and starting again and pushing until I made progress.
And not waiting for that perfect moment that doesn't exist.
There isn't one.
Yeah.
You can wait. You can wait for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
There'll never ever be that perfect moment. No matter if you think it's coming. You think, I need to get to 6%, 5% body fat before I can start my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Don't be ridiculous.
And I was saying the same thing before, is that there's always going to be that moment that you guys think is more appropriate. You want to wait till you're leaner or you're bigger or, you're a certain age or you get a certain following before you'll start. But I found with me, the best thing I did was just start posting slowly. And like Andrew said, from a brand's point of view, that's what they want as well. You need momentum, so you have to start anytime, and you'll learn as you go.
Correct. And if you've got that interactive personality, if you've got the other traits that aren't necessarily that low body fat level, you're going to get the momentum anyway, and you're going to get people who look up to you because of the way that you live your life.
Yeah.
And then when you do eventually get to that physical level that you're looking to get to, you've already got a group of people who've been with you on the way, and they're going to spread the word about you instead of you having to push yourself more.
Yeah.
So I think it's critical that if you're looking to get into this industry, if you're looking to get sponsored, that you start doing the right thing straight away. There's just not going to be the perfect time.
And really, being yourself is really crucial in developing, social media and your own image, because there's too many. I feel as though there's too many people that are trying to be what they think people want to see, and then all that happens is you get 1,000 people who are exactly the same, that bring nothing new to the table. So if you're trying to stand out, you really have to differentiate yourself amongst the masses. So what actually don't you like?
I don't like copies of copies.
Yeah.
I don't like people who you can clearly see are trying to be someone that they're not.
Yep.
I like unique attributes, things about people that make them stand out. You don't necessarily have to have, and typically I will look for about 100,000 Instagram followers, a reasonable following on YouTube, and good activity on Snapchat to sponsor someone, but you don't have to have that. It's not essential. You do have to have unique factors that will put you at that level in due course. And ideally, the shorter the time frame for that, the better, because I can see growth, I can see new audiences that you're bringing and you're exposing my brand to, and I can see that you're very active on it. So even with yourself, you didn't have a huge amount of followers when we first started working together.
I think I had about 28,000 on Instagram, and I wasn't into YouTube, barely on Snapchat, and Facebook was just starting as well.
Yeah, and where are you now?
60,000 on Instagram, nearly 20 on Facebook, and YouTube's just hit 3, and Snapchat's doing well also, so it's growing slowly. But I wanted to ask what you saw in me from the beginning, basically, when you messaged me.
Yeah. Well, look, I got a sense of your personality from videos that you've done previously.
Yeah.
I saw that you were able to commit to your goals in terms of hitting the physique that you wanted to get. I saw while you were dieting on ridiculously low calories that you were willing to do what it takes to get there, which is an important personality attribute. Your unique selling point for me was your sense of humour, and your ability to make light of what can be a ridiculously kind of over-serious sport.
Yeah.
There are people that grind really hard and forget about how to enjoy bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So what I saw in you was, the ability to make light of the sport a bit, and take things not so seriously and be able to convey that in a way that people really connect with.
Yeah, because it is fun. And
it is.
And everybody enjoys it. It's just that people can take it too seriously or give it this serious sort of vibe about it that isn't really necessary all the time, because it is an enjoyable sport.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And that was a huge factor for me, because as sad as it is, it's not too common to have that view of it. So I'm like, all right, this is unique. This is going to get this kid a lot of views. It's going to get him a lot of engagement. It's something that not many people are doing it. I've seen it a few times, and on the profiles that I have seen who take a similar approach, they're huge. So it was kind of a fairly easy choice for me. The other thing I tend to look for, and I saw in you, is the business side of things. You take it seriously. You can see the commercial application of it. You understand how what you do influences a business, and you understand how what you do influences your own abilities to grow and profit from what you love doing in the long term. Something I also saw really prominently when I first started working with Zac Smith. He was another one, very, very commercially minded, very commercially focused, knew what he wanted to do, was willing to grind to get it. And he did. So that's one of the qualities I look for, and why I thought you'd be a good person to bring on board.
It's funny because like those stupid videos that I made and put out there, initially I didn't want to put them out there because I thought, this isn't what normal fitness people do, this isn't what bodybuilders do, they're not this silly, like they don't do this stuff. And then I did a couple and, got good feedback, and I was like, and it was always this way up between, should I do what people want to see and what these athletes are doing that are killing it, or should I do what I do, just keep doing me and bring this other sort of funny side to it and stupid take on it. And so if I hadn't have, done that and gone with my guts on it, I definitely wouldn't be where I am now.
Absolutely.
I'd just be trying to chase, someone else and what someone else has already done. So that's why I can't stress that enough, that you need to do you. You just can't try be someone else, because it's not going to work, and people will see that and brands will see that.
Correct. I was pushing you to do the same thing as well. And saying, when you were shooting me through the Harry Spotter videos, had nothing to do with the brand, had nothing to do with what I do, but I could see that it's increasing your brand and its potential to develop your growth, so it makes sense. You just got to shoot for things like that.
So as a last take-home message, what would you tell the guys out there wanting to start in the fitness industry and grow their social media? What can they do today, and what can they strive for in the future as well?
I think, as we said, one of the most important things is to start today. Start working on who you are and where you want to get to. Don't wait for the golden opportunity. It's not going to come. Start today. Work really hard. A lot of those big social media influencers you see out there, the ones with the big names, that's not happened accidentally. They haven't just got that because they've got a fantastic physique or a fantastic personality. They've worked tirelessly to build their profile across a range of different social media platforms to get recognised. They've done the share for share things to get exposure to different audiences. They've paid for shout outs. It's not the easiest thing to do. Sometimes it's necessary to bring up your exposure to get that base level of followers. They've made sacrifices to work on their physique. They've decided, I'm going to go to the gym on Friday night instead of going down to the pub with boys because this is what I want to do. There are a lot of sacrifices that you're going to need to make this kind of thing work. The people with the big accounts are those that have put in the work. None of it's been accidental. So that's a part of it that you've got to accept as reality. Get started, put in work, make connections within the industry. Ask people how they've done it, what they do on a daily basis. Ask your favourite influencers how they've got there. If they've got the time of day to tell you, I'm sure they would. A lot of them are busy, but hopefully they take some time out. Create great media. So buy a camera that's not your iPhone camera. Talk to a video editor, get some great videos done.
Just put in the content.
Put in the work. You can have the best physique in the world, but if you can't show it to anyone, there's not much point.
So would you recommend somebody out there trying to get sponsored, would you recommend them hitting up a brand and saying, here's my stats, here's what I'm about, would you consider sponsoring me?
Look, you have to. If you don't ask the question, you'll never know. I think there's generally a time to do that, and that's when you feel that you do have the right level of influence.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to influence a pretty big audience to get sponsored. So it's a critical part of it. So once you've got that base level, you think you've got your direction sorted, then you should be okay. So yeah, we get multiple applications every day by kids who are looking to get sponsored. And if you don't ask, you'll never find out. Truth be told, we haven't gone and taken on board many applications that we've got.
Mm-hmm.
We normally search for our athletes, search for people who fit the brand. That just tends to be the way it works for us, and where we found the best influences. So you might have a bit of trouble getting a response or getting what you're looking for out of an application that you're putting into a brand.
Mm.
Not saying don't do it, but your time is better spent developing yourself to the point where they come to you.
Yeah, and that's what I've always said is to work on yourself, make that your main priority, and then brands will come to you if you're doing it right.
Correct, absolutely.
Awesome. So I think that pretty much covers it. If you guys have any more comments, just either message me, leave them in the comments, and we'll cover it again. So thanks for watching, guys.